like a Hellcat.
Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I've actually tried filming this a couple times, and I uploaded it yesterday and found that only half of the video was there, so we're going to try it again today. So as you all know, I'm not an over-the-top, jumping up and down, screaming into the camera, excited type person. When I am excited about something, I share it with you. Hang on just a second, my camera's not that great. There we go. So this is not in its original box because the box got destroyed when David was in the hospital, and my ColourPop foundation froze and actually exploded everywhere. So it is the Morphe James Charles palette. I have used it a couple times now because I've filmed this a couple times now, but I still want to share what I think of it with you guys. So my base is already down. I used my Elemis moisturizer. I used my cactus water to moisturize, and I used, my Ole, is it Ole? Yeah, Ole Henriksen Truth Serum to moisturize. Then I used my ColourPop All-Star Primer, and I've actually been using a new foundation, which is the Maybelline Dream Satin Liquid in 20 Classic Ivory. So all of that is done. Now, I'm going to do something a little different. We all know that sometimes you're given directions on things and you follow the directions. It's usually the best thing to do is follow directions. But we're going to do things a little bit different because there's been some complaints about it, and I just want to give it a test with this palette. So the first thing is on one eye, which will be my right eye, we are going to use a primer. I am going to use my Hard Candy Eyes the Limit eyeshadow primer, and the reason for this is that James Charles has said that this palette performs best when used over a primer. And you know, I am the type of person that reads directions and follows them. I don't like to just jump into things. I'm a stickler for instructions. And then on the other eye, while it's not suggested, we're going to do it just to see if it performs differently. I'm going to use my ColourPop No Filter Concealer on this left eye. Like I said, he definitely does recommend using a primer instead of concealer, which we all know, if you've watched any of his videos, he doesn't typically use primer. He uses concealer, so he's going against his own grain on that. So if he's recommending it when it's something he normally wouldn't use, I would say, yeah, follow it. So, of course, we need to set that concealer. So I'm going to use my Laura Mercier setting powder here, because otherwise it's just going to crease. And then, no, it's definitely not going to perform well. And I want to give it the best chance that it can to perform at its best. So, I just went in and used my beauty blender and put some powder over the concealer. Okay, so since we're doing two different setups on the eyes, I want to make sure that I was going to do two separate looks, one on each eye. But then I can't really gauge how they perform over concealer versus primer. So I'm going to do the same look on each eye. The palette comes with a see-through protector that has all the names on it. And then, of course, all the colors. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have seen this palette floating around. It is a Morphe palette. It's the Artistry palette. The net weight is 75.7 grams. Made in China. That's something I'm not really big on. I actually prefer makeup that's made in the US, but I have been branching out to more that's made in other countries. My only concern with the ones that are made in other countries are that they're not FDA regulated like we are here in the US, so you can get things like lead and unfortunately some other nasty ingredients, including feces and stuff. But usually when it's a high-end brand, you don't have to worry about that. Now, I've heard a lot of things about Morphe, so I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and get into this whole shebang here. I'm going to start out with, let me find a brush. I'm going to use my BH Cosmetics number 103. It's just a little like packer brush. And I'm going to go into the color Canvas, which is just like a nude, and it's just to lay a base down. It is this color right here. And it's just to help lay a base, to help set in that primer. Even though we already set this one, I'm still going to do the same on that eye as well. Knock off the excess there. And we're just going to go ahead and place this. And it's not real pigmented, but of course it is a nude or neutral color. It matches my skin color fairly well, so it's not really going to show up. I will say I already noticed a difference in the way that it laid down on both eyes. And I want to change my lighting so you guys can see just a little bit better. Okay, so this eye, it's very level, very flattened out. This eye, it's more powdery. And I know that you can't see the colors really well, but trust me, it's more powdery and it looks like it's a bit patchy. So we'll see as we go on with, you know, the look. The next color I want, well, first I guess I need to find a brush that I want to use. I think I'm going to go ahead and use just an e.l.f. blending eye brush. It's just a nice little rounded packer brush here. And the next color that I'm going to use is Mary, which is a pinkish mocha. I don't know. It's just a pretty color. It's this one here, which on camera it looks much darker than it is in the pan. So we'll see. But we're going to use Mary. We're just going to lightly dab our brush in there. You can see it definitely picks it up. And we're going to place it on this outside edge, outside corner here. And I'm just using light little dabbing motions. And then we're going to blend. There's nothing there. Let's try this again. Tap the color on. Oh, there it is. There's some pigment there. And blend it out. So I'm sure you guys heard a lot of the controversy involved with this palette. The staining issues, which I'm not overly concerned about because I have, let me see here if I can grab them. I have two other palettes that use pressed pigments. My blood sugar palette and my Take Me Back to Brazil palette. And both of those, I will say that I've had a little bit of staining because they are pressed pigments. They use red dyes. And when you want a nice vegan formula, unfortunately the only way... Okay, pause on my thought there. It's definitely a lot lighter on this side than it was on this side. But it's still blending nice. Anyways, when you want a vegan formula, the only way to really get those true colors, those true pigments that are bright and brilliant is to use dyes. And unfortunately, yes, dyes do stain. Okay. We're going in for a third time for this eye with the concealer. And it's blending okay over the concealer. It's just not as pigmented as you can see. This one definitely has a lot more pigment than this one. Okay, so now we're going to go in with another one of my BH Cosmetic 103, which is just a packing brush, and we're going to go into the color, let's see here, I think I'm going to use so many pretty colors, but I want to go with green. I don't use green a lot, so we're going to go into the color Daddy, which is right here. It's like the color of money. I'm surprised you didn't name it money. Anyways, you're gonna get some staining with red pigments. So, okay, what I'm gonna do is place this one as well on this outer corner, just tapping and then sweeping into the crease just below that other color and blending up a little so that they blend together. Wow, that has a crap ton of pigment. This is my first time using this color. I've stuck to the browns. I'm just not usually a green eyeshadow person. It's blending okay. It's not being a booger to blend. Okay, so now we're going to go in again with the brush that we used for Mary and tap it into Mary one more time. And we're going to, well, marry these two together. I want them to blend nicely. So just ever so slightly adding a little bit of that color back to the brush and then blending these two together like so. Okay, now we're going to do the same to the other eye and see how well Daddy performs over concealer instead of primer. Now, I cannot blame James Charles for this because he does say that it performs better over primer. I can tell you, I mean, you can see, at least I hope you can see, there's a big difference in color payoff between the one that I used primer on and the one I used concealer and setting powder. It's definitely more pigmented using the primer. So I would say if you don't like the darker, highly pigmented looks, you might want to use concealer instead of primer because it definitely mutes the color out a lot. And again, we're just blending back in with Mary. Okay, so that's the concealer side. And that's the primer side. You can definitely tell a big difference in the way they performed. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with Cape Cod, which is, I will show you here in a second. I'm going to use my, sorry, I do not even remember the brand. Sorry, guys. But I'm going to use it. It's just a round, very flat, not super thick packed brush. And Cape Cod is this really pretty, wow, metallic-y green that is right here. And we're going to pop that on this inner corner here instead of the outer corner. Not all the way in here, but the inner half of the lid. We're going to go in first with it dry on the brush. It definitely picked up on the brush. And we're just going to pack it right here. Usually, whenever I'm using a metallic color, I will spray my brush to get better payoff. I want to try it dry first. It's there, but it's not as metallic as I'd like. So I'm gonna use my ColourPop All-Star setting spray here. I'm gonna take my brush and just dip it back into that color. I'm gonna spritz it here with my setting spray. And now we're gonna pop it on inner half of the lid. Now that's much better. We definitely have more color payoff. Okay, now we're going to do it to the same thing to the other eye over the concealer and see how well it performs. We still get a really good color payoff over the concealer with this metallic. I really like that. But it does seem a bit more clumpy right in here. Okay, now we're going to take the same color and we're going to do this outside corner, leaving the center of the eyeball area as blank as we can. There's a little bit of fallout, even though I did spray my brush. I'm gonna get this one here. I'm definitely struggling a bit more with the metallics on this side with the concealer. It's just not wanting to go on there. Okay, now we're going to use the color Guac, which is another green. I'll show it to you here. It is another metallic. It's right here. It's like a army green. And we're going to pop that in the center where we left it blank. And instead of using a brush, I'm going to use my finger. We're just going to pop that right here in the center. Wow. There truly is a major difference in the way they perform between primer and concealer. Okay, so now that we've done that top lid, I want to finish up the bottom lid, and we are going to use another little like detail brush here, if I can find it. Here it is. Oop, I dropped it. It is my Real Techniques detail brush. Just another little rounded brush. We're going to go into Cape Cod. We're going to drag this along that first half of the bottom lash line and blend it in to that outer corner. And I just dropped my brush. The only thing I don't like about this particular detail brush, it's a bit rough. We're going to do the same to this eye. And that's it. The eye look is finished for that. Well, for using the palette. I'm going to step off camera, finish up my makeup, and I will be right back to discuss the palette with you guys. Okay, so this is the finished look. I just did some contouring, put on some lipstick, some eyeliner, and some mascara. Now, my opinion about the palette. It's been called a full face palette. I have tried that, and a lot of the colors don't match me, so it's not something that I would do again. As for an eyeshadow palette, I really enjoy it. Now, I do highly recommend that you follow what James Charles said and use an eye primer, because if not, as you can see, this eye definitely looks a lot better than this eye. Overall, though, I love the palette, and I have a feeling that I will be using it quite often. It seems so far to be my go-to palette. I grab it for almost every look I do, even whenever I'm doing a bright look. If you're not into bright colors, it does have those very beautiful glam or neutral colors up top, and I don't think it's a waste of money because, I mean, come on, it is Morphe, and Morphe is not an expensive brand. No shade here. It's not like paying $60 like you will for a Jeffree Star palette. So it's well worth it. And that's about it for today's little video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed the look, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Stay beautiful. Bye.